93% of all public education teachers are male, and 97% of, excuse me, are female, and 97% of that 93% are white females. So when you talk about the black boys' academic struggle, when you talk about the school to prison pipeline, when you talk about the overdiagnosis of the reading disability and the misdiagnosis of ADHD, what you're really talking about is a disconnect between America's middle class white female teacher, who's usually racist, and the black boys she's expected to teach. Black boys want to learn like everybody else. They're not different. They're not so unique that school is a problem for them. The problem is the conduit of the learning, and that is the teacher. But in public education, because of their power, teachers have a lot of power. The American Federation of Teachers, the National Education Association, they are the two of the largest unions in America. Remember, America has more teachers and police than anything else in this country. So the reason why you've never really seen major educational change is because politicians, I'm going to say it again, politicians, I'm going to say it one more time, politicians are scared to talk about making the schools better because they don't want to step on the toes of teachers, because they have millions of votes and millions of dollars. That's why Obama did nothing to change the schools for black folks. Trump really isn't going to do anything to change schools for black folks because you don't want to upset your teachers union. That's your votes and your money. Until you bring black men into the classroom to teach black boys, they will continue to struggle.
Why are black men not in the classroom?
Because the schools don't want them there.
Why not?
Schools, because the public education is a white female-dominated institution. It has always been that way. It always will be that way.
So there's no recruitment efforts?
There is no recruitment. Let me change that. Very little recruitment for black male teachers. And if you go to any school district, you know what they're going to tell you? We've been looking for them, but we can't find them. Well, let me say this to every school district in America. If you want black male teachers, call me. I have resumes for thousands of them. They don't want them. But let me tell you what they will do. They'll bring in Teach for America or one of these other emergency teacher certification recruitment programs, and they will find white men from the suburbs who are not educators, who have a bachelor's degree, and they will bring them to Philadelphia and other inner city school districts, give them emergency teacher certs, let them teach black kids. But there's millions of black men with master's degrees and bachelor's degrees who don't have a criminal record, unemployed, looking for a job, who would gladly go into North Philly or Southwest Philadelphia schools and teach, but they're not looking for them. What you're trying to tell me, that a white man cares more about educating a black boy than a black man?
So it's strategic.
It's strategic.
And by design.
Systematic bias, systematic discrimination, systematic disproportionality.
All right. Dr. Umar Johnson is my guest. The phone lines are open 215-263-1053, 877-894-1053. Let's take Sheena from Nicetown, raising a son in Philadelphia. Sheena, good morning. Thank you for your phone call. Short and sweet, your question or your comment.
Bring her home. My son, we have those conversations at every forum. I believe that my son will be very successful black husbands, and they will marry black females, because that's what I will stand for.
That's right.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your phone call. The phone lines are open. Would love to talk to you. Great opportunity to speak with Dr. Johnson as well. Let me go back just for a second because I want to hit this point. When people talk about your credentials,
yes,
your journey through academia, and they've questioned your credentials and relative to being a PhD, and you say what?
I would say, well, first of all, we're sitting right across the street from the college where I earned my PhD, the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. I graduated in July, I believe it was, of 2012, right after I spoke at an Urban League conference in New Orleans. So I definitely have my doctorate. I have 3 master's degrees. The first one is from Millersville University. Shout out to Kenny. I just got Ken a Tex fellow alum from Millersville University. He's one of the superstar basketball players there. Okay, I got my second master's from Lehigh University in educational leadership because I am a certified school principal. And my third master's was also from PCOM in clinical psychology. 2 bachelors, also Millersville University in psychology and political science, 6 degrees in all.
And do you feel like, especially since your ascension, that you're more under attack?
Oh, definitely. Any unapologetic America hates nothing more than an unapologetically African alpha male. You're hated more than the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, any terrorist cell they think is operating. There's nothing more deplorable in this social order than an unapologetically African alpha male. But I promise you one thing, that's how I live and that's how I'm going to die. No one is taking my backbone from me.
All right, well, let's talk about Pan-African.
Yes.
Pan-Africanism, that's pretty much fundamentally the Marcus Garvey idea.
Marcus Garvey was the greatest of the Pan-Africanists. He didn't invent it, he reinvented it. He would be what Michael Jordan was to basketball. Michael Jordan did not invent the sport. He reinvented the sport.
All right. So fundamentally, what does that mean? Explain
three
to
quick
people.
points.
Yes.
Number one, Pan-Africanists, we believe that all people of African descent are one family. Whether you're in North Philly speaking English, whether you're in London speaking the Queen's tongue, if you're in Jamaica speaking Patois, Nigeria speaking Igbo, whether you're light-skinned, dark-skinned, Muslim, or Christian, whether you pledge this flag or that flag, we are all one family. African family first, and we identify as being African first. Being African is more important than being a Christian. Being African is more important than being a Muslim. Why? Because God made you black. You chose your religion. God made you black. You chose your religion. Point number two, we believe that what is to be done for black people must be done by black people. We do not believe in outside interference or participation in our struggles. Self-determination for all things. What must be done for black people must be done by black people. And the third principle is that as Africa goes, so goes the rest of us. We would say that until black America, black Canada, black Central South America, the black Caribbean, until we play a major role in the political economic regeneration of the mother continent, none of us will be improved, because a strong man is strong everywhere, and we get disrespected as long as Africa gets
Let's
disrespected.
start on the local level with local politics, your regional, statewide politics,
Yes.
and then we'll work our way to your thought on our former president. When you talk about for black folk, about black folk, and the working within the black community with black people, why then, or do you believe that politicians play a role, and is it a positive role, and that we should be at the table as elected officials?
First of all, one of the biggest mistakes that black America makes is we elect people who are interested in their own financial agendas, not ours. That's number one. There are exceptions to every rule. We have some great black politicians in the past here, Cecil B. Moore and others. Okay. However, until the black community starts financing the campaigns of the people they want to represent them in elected office, black politicians will never benefit us. As long as black elected officials have to get their campaign finance funding from the Democratic Party, white corporations, white institutions, as soon as they get elected, they're going to carry out the agenda of their financiers. The hand that pays is the hand that rules. Black people vote, but voting is not enough. You have to finance the campaign. Obama carried out a white agenda because he was financed in organized fashion by white folk. And black politicians also carry out a white agenda because they are financed by black folk. We have to keep our politicians honest, and the only way we can do that is by freeing them up from the necessity of needing white folk to finance their victories.
All right. We're going to be going to the phone lines in just a few minutes. 215-263-1053 is the number. And, of course, we'd love to talk to you. Psycho-Academic Holocaust, the special edition, and the ADHD wars against black boys.
Special education. You said edition.
Edition.
Special education.
Special education. I'm
There
sorry.
you go, there
The
you go.
special education and ADHD wars against black boys. There are... You talk about in your book, and you've talked about at your lecture series, about the drugging.
Oh, goodness.
And
Philadelphia has one of the highest black boy psychiatric medication drug rates in the country. Like, we're one of the top. For Adderall, Ritalin, Concerta, Metadate, all these drugs, which come as a result of ADHD diagnosis, conduct disorder diagnosis, ODD diagnosis. When did we get ADD? 1980. Was that a coincidence? 1980 is the same year that the CIA dropped crack cocaine off in the black community. They started drugging our boys the same time they started drugging our men. They turned it into ADHD in 1987. Why did they go from ADD to ADHD? Because there's no drug that can make your child pay attention. The drugs can only disrupt brain function and slow the brain down. So now easy. Everybody gets the drug.
And it's easy. I've always had this discussion with educators and that whole idea of, first of all, the diagnosis, and you have a great perspective on that. We're going to talk about, are these diagnoses more likely than not correct in your estimation? But then you have a kid who's 6 or 7. It's a little fella. But then he all of a sudden is 14 and he's standing 6 foot. And he's been on a psychotropic drug for 7 or 8 years and decides, I'm not taking it anymore. And we want to know why some of our young men at 15, 16, 17 have decided at this point they're not taking this drug anymore. And they've been drugged for 7 or 8 years. So talk about, especially as a clinical psychologist.
School psychologist with a doctorate in clinical psychology.
And the whole idea of whether or not you believe that these are proper and correct diagnoses.
First of all, if we had more men in the school, there would be no ADHD. See, this is where the sexism comes in. These are women saying that these boys have mental problems because they're too hyper, too energetic. Well, guess what? When a girl goes through puberty and y'all start developing into women, y'all sleep a lot. Estrogen. When boys go through puberty, we don't sleep. We want to get active. We want to run. We want to chase. We want to tackle each other. Testosterone. The problem is you got boys who have boy needs, who are not disordered, but they're forced to do what? Function in a female-dominated institution. ADHD in black boys is 97% the result of complaints from female teachers and female mothers. It is sexism. He don't need drugs. What he needs is a teacher in the class who cares. What are the 3 R's of education? Rigor, relevance, relationships. Rigor, holding our kids to a high standard. Relevance, making sure the lesson plans matter. And to tell you as a former principal, teachers do not spend the type of time they need to spend on building lesson plans. They will use the same ones from 5 years ago if the principal lets them get away with it. But the most important R is the relationship. When you walk into the class, the child knows within 5 seconds whether you're there to make a difference or you're there to make a dollar. How can you say he has ADHD when there's no recess, there's no gym class, there's no opportunity for physical exertion, but you want to say that this boy got a disease because he can't sit still? Every 5 and 6 year old wants to play. Every 5 and 6 year old is a little inattentive and a little hyper. As the instructional leader in the classroom, your job is to keep their attention. And if you can't, you shouldn't be there. And so many black boys who are diagnosed as ADHD, guess what the real problem is? MG. They're mentally gifted. The instruction is too easy. And you can't expect a black boy to sit still when he already knows what you're trying to teach him.
Classroom management?
Classroom management is a big issue too, but how about effective instruction? I know teachers who sit behind the desk. If you're not motivated to teach, why will he be motivated to learn? And I'm not going to put it all on the teachers. Parents play a role because in my opinion, it's absolutely ridiculous that when I go into homes to do therapy, I see video games, cell phones, HD TVs, but I don't see no dictionary. I don't see no bookshelf. I don't see no thesaurus. So parents are part of this too. A black boy needs a parent who cares and a teacher who cares. If he got both of those, he gonna make it. If he got one of them, he gonna make it. But too often, many of our boys have mothers who don't care and teachers who couldn't care less.
Wow. Dr. Umar Johnson is my guest. We're going to line 3. Steve from Roxborough is on the line. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to Headlines. Thank you, and I've been waiting on your phone call.
It needs to be heard. Like, it just really needs to be heard. But I just want to really quick give you my story. My son is 18-year-old, and I had him in Catholic school. His mom, he had to have a Catholic education. Well, seems like you just said, he was hyperactive. He was running around. He was a little boy. He had energy, so they wanted to label him. And I said, no, you can't. And I explained to my wife at the time, once they label you, the next thing they do is say they can't teach you.
That's
Once
right.
they decide they can't teach you,
That's right.
they incarcerate you.
That's right.
So I wouldn't go for it. I took my son out of that school. I put him in Mastery Charter down in South Philadelphia, where he had a couple deans that were African-American men. Very good brother. Very good brother. My son is now a freshman at East Stroudsburg University, and he's doing great.
Excellent.
He's doing great. He needed, coming up, I had, my father lived in a home, so, and I had an older brother, and when I went to high school, I had black men who taught the classroom, who controlled the classroom. So I felt the need, I said, listen, these kids need to be taught by people who look like them.
Right.
Real quick, let me say this real quick, Dr. Johnson. I so agree with you on everything you said. One point that I would like to make, when a teacher doesn't have a vested interest in the community, she comes from outside of the community, so what goes on in that community doesn't really affect her.
That's right.
Her Volvo,
That's right.
Back to
That's right.
Montgomery County. She doesn't care about that student or that community.
That's right.
In order for black kids to succeed, teachers need to come from that same community.
That's right.
Because that's how the community grows and builds and flourishes. But if I come from 30 miles away to make my $85 or whatever it is, and at 3 o'clock I'm...
Yeah, but let me, Steve, I get you. And let me just, because as I'm listening, I get it. But when you want to educate your children, let me tell you something. That whether the young man is in North Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, whether he is in Wilmington, Delaware, or Trenton, and if I am hired to educate this young person, I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your social economic background is. I want to educate you now. So what we're talking about is whether or not somebody is trying to get a paycheck, Steve, or whether or not somebody is passionate about educating our young black children, period. So I'm not going to totally believe that. I get what you're saying, but I'm not totally going to continue to buy into this ideology. I do get it. When you worked in a community, and you know, when we were raised, I'm just about a year or two older than you are, Dr. Johnson. But we knew that Miss Liz on the block cared. We lived in the same community. We went to the same church. If you had older brothers and sisters, they went through the same school that you went to. But then all of a sudden, when we became a lot more socialized and dignified, we started to move into different kind of communities, and we don't have that neighborhood that we have. But I don't care where you live, what you drive, or what you do. If you come to that schoolhouse, first of all, Dr. Johnson, and believe that Timmy can read. Timmy has the potential to read. No matter where Timmy comes from, no matter what his challenges are, that you're willing to meet him at that schoolhouse door and do the best that you can each and every day to assure that he can believe, that he can read, and that he can be educated. I think part of it is that the perception is that when a lot of our young people come to the schoolhouse door, that the focus is not assuring that we're going to give them the best possible opportunity to succeed.
I totally agree with you, and that's because there's no consequences for poor instruction. A lot of people don't realize this, but teachers have the greatest job satisfaction of any professional in America. Why? Because the unions have contracts with every school district in America that time on the job dictates tenure, not effectiveness on the job. After a teacher has been teaching in Philadelphia for 3 years, she was guaranteed to have her job for the rest of her life, no matter how poorly she can complete that job. She would have to do something extremely ridiculous to get fired, having sex with children or something to that effect. Outside of that, and you're talking to a former principal, you cannot fire a teacher.
What do you believe is the
teach.
Alternative to that?
I'm going to tell you what the solution is. The solution is for black people to build their own schools. See, there's certain systems you cannot create. You're not allowed to have your own criminal justice system. You're not allowed to have your own legal system. The government does allow you to have your own educational system. Guess what? We spent $600 million on McDonald's in 2016. Black America spent $4 billion on malt liquor in 2016. $2 billion on Air Jordans in 2016. And black women spent $9 billion on their hair. With that type of money, every black child in America should have an independent school where they get the education that they're entitled to. You know what the problem is? It ain't the white folk, it's us. It's our priorities. How can you spend so much money on things that don't matter while allowing your children to go to a system every day that's designed to do only one thing: prepare our daughters for poverty and our boys for prison?
All right. Dr. Umar Johnson is our guest, and you'll be able to go online as well to WDASFM.com. Please make sure that this is not going to be your last visit to Headlines. You have an open opportunity to sit in with us along the way as you look to build your school. How far away are you from that vision?
We're hoping
you have
that
as we get ready to wrap
we
up
have a school by this August. And I'm hoping that the first day of school will be August 21st of 2018.
Wow.
Which happens to be my birthday, but also the anniversary of the Nat Turner War and the Haitian Revolution and the first day of slavery in America in 1619. So symbolically, have the school by this August 21st, open it up by the next one. Also want your listeners to know that they can donate by going to GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. And if anyone needs to reach me, they can do it on the website, DrUmarJohnson.com. You can also call me on my phone, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. And just a quick plug, I'll be speaking in Newark, New Jersey tonight at the Greater Abyssinian Baptist Church, 88 Lyons Avenue, tonight in Newark for Black History Month. Doors open up at 4 o'clock. And then I'll be speaking at Morgan State University on Wednesday.
Yes, we were talking about that beforehand. Please say hello to my alma mater.
And that's a 7 o'clock program on Wednesday, free and open to the public. Wednesday, February 22nd. So
make sure I post
you can drive 90 miles to Newark tonight, or you can drive 90 miles to Baltimore on Wednesday.
All right. Now listen, I want you to go online as well to WDASFM.com and go to my page. You'll be able to hear this entire interview in its entirety, and you'll also be able to see a copy of Dr. Umar's book. Do you have any other projects in the works?
Yes, the National Independent Black Parent Association. Anyone listening to today's broadcast who would like to help us organize in Philadelphia or anywhere around the country, that's an organization we started in May, and we have about 30 chapters that we're working with now to organize parents in the 7 key areas of discipline, special ed, finance, policy, social support, homeschooling, and parent advocacy. And then we have the Black Boy and Girl Black College and Consciousness Tour from Atlanta, June 28th to July 12th. It's an overnight tour, 14 days and 14 nights.
Leaving Philadelphia?
No, leaving Atlanta. So they would have to fly or drive, or they could put them on the bus and we pick them up, me and chaperone. So the parents don't have to bring them. And we're going to be taking them to historically black colleges in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, and then they also go to significant places in the black experience. We'll be taking them to the National Civil Rights Museum, Oyotunji African Village, Dr. King Center, the Selma African Holocaust Institute, Montgomery, Alabama Civil Rights Museum, George Washington Carver Museum at Tuskegee. So if anyone's interested, again, DrUmarJohnson.com or 215-989-9858.
What do you want to share with us before we get ready to end the show? You know, 1 hour goes by so quickly.
I would say the biggest thing for us as a people, we have to start using our money as a weapon. Black people do not use our money as a weapon. If we organized our finances, we could control our politicians, we could control our churches, we could control the government, we could do so much in our community. We don't have any infrastructure. There's not a black community in America that has its own school, its own hospital, its own supermarket, its own manufacturing sector. Not one. There's a little Italy in every major city. There's a Chinatown in every major city. There's not a black town or a little Africa anywhere in America. So until we organize our funding, we won't be able to change our situation. Our political destiny is on the backside of our financial discipline.
And to that point, before we go, you know, in a number of communities around the country, that conversation started. Now, there was once upon a time where there were hybrids of communities.
Like Wall Street.
Absolutely. Of black communities before desegregation and the like, where there were black-owned businesses.
And then they put highways through them.
And they put highways through them in most every community around the country.
Including here.
In Philadelphia. Philadelphia as
break up
well.
A black community, boom,
where there
highway.
were black hospitals, where there were black businesses, and then all of a sudden the highways just
we had the Frederick Douglass Hospital in Philadelphia, a black hospital. It's gone now.
You've got to come back. We've got to finish this. We never got a chance to talk about.
One last thing.
Yes,
Every
please.
Tuesday morning I have a Black Parent Teleconference. It's free, 6 to 8. Parents have any questions about their children, they get free answers.
Yeah.
The number to that is 857-232-0158. 857-232-0158 every Tuesday morning, 6 to 8, and the access code is 870-864-POUND.
And I'm going to be able to post that number on my
and it's on the back of the card.
Good. And we're going to put that information to make sure if you didn't have an opportunity to write it down, you'll be able to go to my webpage at WDASFM.com, keyword Frankie Darcel. This interview will be there. And Doc, for you, for hooking us up.
Yes,
I say every day, it's all in divine order, and it was your introduction to this dynamic brother to have him with us on the show today. Thank you for that, Doc.
You're welcome.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all. This was incredible. It was a lot of good information, a lot of positive information. And Frankie, I know you, and Dr. Umar, I know you from your speaking, so I just knew it would be dynamic, and I'm glad that it came out.
Great, and this was just the beginning.
Yes.
This is just the beginning. Yes. So we're going to definitely open the door for Dr. Johnson to be our guest on Headlines anytime and during the week, and would really like to put something together in Philadelphia, because the key is the access, the key is the information, and two, the vision is having the access to the information. Because too often we have conversations with people, we talk at people without giving folks a solution to be able to leave them with some fundamental, powerful information that they can talk, and realistic, that they can take with them to empower what it is that we're saying to them. You're talking about speaking in Newark and speaking in Baltimore. You go speak and people walk out the door and leave with nothing. I want to be able to leave people with opportunities of empowerment. So when we have these kinds of conversations, that they can take it little by little, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, state by state.
I like it.
I thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. On the way, it's Patty Jackson, produced by Bernard Henderson, associate producer, as well, Darrell Moreau. Appreciate you so much. Go online to WDASFM.com. The entire interview will be up on my page in less than about 25 minutes. We're 105.3 WDAS.